Okay. So, hello everyone. Hello Yogesh. Hello Vijay sir. So, we have a lot of people who have joined. People who have joined us on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, any of our social channels. You can directly join using the Zoom link that was shared in the email, or you can even find that in the chat as well. Right. So let me just share. If I'm visible and audible clearly, type C in the chat box. Okay, let's check. Chat is in. Great. Okay. Yogesh sir, am I audible and visible clearly? Yeah, this is going to be an interactive session. Great. Okay. Let's begin. So the format for these sessions are going to be this way. The hackathons are a follow sessions on the actual program, the actual modules done by Rajiv sir itself, right? So if how many of you are already following Rajiv sir's lectures and finished few of their modules, right? The modules, the first module basically. How many of you finished the first module of, yes, hi Vinita. Yeah. So if you finish the first module, type 1 in the chat box. Great. Okay. Thanks. So this will be a follow-up lecture. It's like a revision of whatever Rajiv sir has told. That is the thing. People who are watching us on Zoom, we have 4 people watching us on Zoom right now. I'm sharing the Zoom link here and the passcode as well. Great. So people who are watching us on YouTube, yes, Dr. Vijay sir, no, not a problem. Even if you've missed, you can find the lecture, the first module in your Teachable, right? So you can find it in the Teachable itself, right? So people who are watching us on YouTube, you can leave, the message on the comments itself. Okay, great. Now let's begin. I'm going to let me pull up my notes and sharing it. Yeah. So before that, I request people to let us know how much time it has been that you've been in the community. Yeah. So you can type the number of months in the chat box. Yeah. If you want to unmute and speak, that's also fine. Yeah. So I think Vinita ma'am, you have joined in November, I guess, right? So it's been like 2 to 3 months. 2 months. Great. Okay. Just great. Hello Rohit sir. Hello Santa sir. Hello Yogesh. Yeah, November. Dr. Vijay sir says recently joined. Rohit says joined. It's been 22 days. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay. So if you're able to see my screen, type S in the chat box. Hi Sandra. Great. So yeah, so people who are joining for the first time who have not even started watching Rajiv's lectures, I'd request you to go to your Teachable and watch the introduction to Python, the module 1. So it will be clear. Though we'll be covering it live here, I'd request you to go through it because Raju sir will go in a very detailed fashion, right? So this is Collab. Collab is like IDE based out of online, so you need not have to install Python on your machine. So you can actually open a new tab and start using it. So people who are for the first time trying to use Collab, you can say Google Collab. Once you search for it, you can see that the link opens. And once the link opens, you can start creating a new notebook and running the Python program. Okay, so that's how this works. Yeah, so we're going to use it in the same fashion. Okay, so I already have my Collab open here. I'm going to create a new notebook here. Okay, so first off, the introduction to Python, because this is a revision for introduction to Python, I'm going to name our file as introduction to Python. Okay, so we will be covering from the basics, which is the syntax, right? So basically, you might have gone through this session. You can see how many of you are able to see the notes here, right? Are you able to see the the notes also? Type N in the chat box. Great. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to use Collab and also understand the sections from here. So first, the print statement. We'll understand what is print statement. We'll understand the syntax of it. So now print is an inbuilt function. The first statement of any programmer or any programming language is always hello world, right? So now the first of a programmer. So now how this works is you can just go say print, open the parentheses and say hello world. So whatever you write between two quotes, whatever you enclose with quotes is treated as a string, and this string gets printed on the console, right? So I'm going to run it. So okay, so once you start running it, you can see that for the first time the Collab initializes and allocates little RAM and disk space for you. So it will take a little time if you're doing it live. So for the people who are doing it live, let me share this link on the chat. Okay, so you can open Collab from here. Okay, so let me come up here. Yes, it is. So let me also share it for our friends on YouTube. Here is the link for the Collab. Okay. Okay. That's amazing. So how many of you are running it parallelly along with me, right? So if you're running it along with me, you can type me in the chat box. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah. Vijay sir, you are trying to run this along with me. So you can unmute and speak. So Vinita ma'am, you've raised hand. Means you're running it along with me. So if you're running it along with me, you can take a screenshot of the program and keep it like we'll be running a complex program cells as well. So you can run it as well. Great. So how many of you have understood what is a print statement? So how many of you are first time using Python or Collab, right? How many of you are first time using Python or Collab? Yes, yes, Vijay sir. So I hope that is easy. If you have understood, type U in the chat box. Great. Yeah. Thanks, Yogi sir. Okay, so now this is the syntax for print. Now, what is syntax? Syntax is a set of way. Hey Rohit, yeah, you're using it for the first time. So thank you so much, Yo. So you can go ahead and run the programs in this fashion. Okay. So now syntax is something, a set of rules, how you have to use a few particular functions, the naming conventions, and all those things. So that is what we'll learn. So the syntax for print is this way, and you're going to use it very often. The print statements, you're going to use it very often. So now you can see the output comes here in Colab. Okay. So now what we are going to do? We have understood the print statements. We'll take a look at strings. Okay. So now as we have understood, so if you want to write something in a new line, you can type plus code here and write it here. Okay. So even if you look at anything that you enclose within double quotes is going to be a hey Santa. So you've already completed Python and R for data science. So these will be sequence of sessions. So if you want to come and join, use this as a practice or revision, you can definitely go forward and run it parallelly, Santa. Okay. So now whatever you enclose within double quotes is treated as a string. So now we have seen this is the syntax for strings. Now you can also see that you will be able to append or concatenate two strings together using the operator plus, right? So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say I will, and I'm using the plus operator here, addition operator, and it says I will ace head Python. So the output would be the first string will be added to the second, right? So both will be joined and that gets printed. So these are like a few smaller operations that you can use while you are working with strings. Okay. So this particular portion is also pretty straightforward. Most of the time, the common errors that occur here are mismatched codes. So for many times, what happens is if you missed a code somewhere, you will get an error, right? So now you can see that there is an arrow here and it says invalid syntax, right? Yeah, yes, Dr. Vijay sir, you can even practice it after the session, also during and after, right? So the session is available for you on YouTube also. We'll also upload it on the Teachable, right? So you can watch it. So now if you see here, this is a mismatched code, and this is where a syntax error came. So whenever there is an error at the level of syntax, it's called a syntax error. Whenever there is a logic level error, right? When the error itself, when the logic itself is wrong, then it's a logical error, right? So now you see this is a syntax error. So it says invalid syntax. Okay, so now we have understood it. Always try to understand errors. So whenever you get an error, try spending time to understand what it says, because it has inputs for you to improve on, right? So that is what we normally suggest. So errors are your friends. Okay. So this is about strings. So the basics of Python. So how many of you are running along with me? Type R in the chat box. So if you are running this along with me, type R in the chat box. Yes, Suman, amazing. Thanks, Yogesh. Okay, so this is about strings. Now we'll go forward. We'll understand a little about variables. Okay. Now, so we'll learn with practice, though there are a few notes here. So what I'm going to do here is, so say, okay. So this way you can create a variable. Now what we have done here is we have directly used the print function to print whatever is there within the parentheses. Now what we are doing right now is creating a variable. So let me just have only one statement here. Now you can see sometimes if you don't use parentheses, if you don't give a space after equals, it is going to show an error, like it is showing up here. Yeah, so it's always, that is a problem with when you're running it, you can remove the space here. So now what we have done here is I'm creating a variable which is called greeting. Okay. Now the greeting says namaste from Pixeltests. Okay. So now if I run it, nothing is happening here because we are telling Python there is a variable called greeting, and we are saving it. It's like a variable is like a box or a envelope, right? You can keep changing letters in it. Okay. So now what happens is it is greeting is this. So if I run it, nothing will happen because we are not asking it to print. Okay. Okay. Now what we are saying is whatever is there in greeting, go ahead and print it. Okay. So this is what we are telling here. So when I run this, it says namaste from Pixeltests. Okay. So Dr. Vijay sir, can you unmute and ask the question? You open the collab link, but not showing the file python.ip. Yeah, so you can just go file, then say new notebook. Right. So when you do that, it will create a new collab. Okay, that's great. Yeah, thanks, Vijay sir. So now what is variable in this? Right now, the greeting could be different. Now, if I'm going to a new place and I'm going to say, if I change my greeting, the way greeting to hello from Pixeltest, I don't have to change anything else, right? So the variable, now the print, it will print whatever is held in the variable. So we have varied whatever was there in that particular statement. So now the best thing about Python is you don't actually have to define what variable it is. Now, if I'm going to give it a new number 5, and I'm going to run run it, so it's going to print 5. Okay, so variable can hold a lot of values, right? So this is a variable here, right? So how many of you have understood the actual concept of variable? Type U in the chat box. Thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Suman. Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, Rohit. Thanks, Sunita. Okay. So now, okay, V for variables. V. That's good. So now if you see, now if the variable, the name could be different. Let's just say, now if I'm going to say current underscore lesson equal to 1, right? And if I'm going to print current lesson, it's going to say. So let's it's going to print, first will print 5, then it will print 1. Let's say tomorrow you are at lesson 2, the lesson would be 2, right? So you can vary whatever is there in that particular thing. So even you can give strings to it. Let's just say this today's date, and I'm going to say today it is 2023 Jan 4. Okay, so you can even print today's date. Okay, so I'm just copy pasting the print statement. If people who think it's coming where it is coming from, it is just copy paste. Right, so it's printed the date also. Okay, so we'll learn about more about dates and the actual formats also, but this is about variables. Okay, so now the syntax of variables is like that. You can do a lot of arithmetic in Python, right? So let's just say what I'm doing here is, right? So if I do spelling errors, please ignore. Yeah, right. Okay. Cool. Now I'm going to write it up here. So for example, a mango is what we have done here is 2 plus 5. right? So instead of writing, how we concatenated two strings, if you do it with numbers, it is going to add them up, right? It's going to do the arithmetic, right? So I'm going to run it. Now, if you say into 20, so it will do 5 into 20 first, then add 2 to it, right? So it will do whatever arithmetic that you wants to do. All that is possible here. Okay, so you can do a lot of things. We'll do more arithmetic going forward. Right? So what I'm doing here is I'm going to show you this new operator, which is this percentage or modulo operator, right? So now what happens with modulo operator is this is something like a percentage, right? So you can use the percentage symbol here. Now when you use a modulo operator, what it does, it gives you the reminder. So to make it simple, what I'm going to do is, what happens if you divide 5 with 2, what is the reminder, right? 2 2s are 4 and the remainder is 1, right? So when you use the percentage symbol, it uses it like a modulo operator, which the modulo operator gives the reminder, right? So now I'm going to copy this reminder and paste it. Okay, that's it. So now you can see that the reminder gets printed. Now, if I say, 89 modulo 5, if I want to see what is the reminder when I divide 89 with 5, it's going to give me 4, right? So 85 gets divisible till there, and then whatever remainder is 4. So this helps in knowing, like for example, if I say, if you want to check if this number is divisible by 5, you can use this number. So whenever the remainder is 0, that means that the number on the first number is divisible by the second number, right? So how many of you understood the modulo operator? Yeah, type M in the chat box. Thank you so much, Vandana. Thanks, Yogesh. Thanks, Vinita. And so we'll also use it in logic going forward, so we will understand it in a deeper sense, right? So if, for example, somebody asks us, is this number divisible by 7? What is the number? Let's just say. Then what do? You use the modulo operator. You use the modulo operator and say 133 divided by 7. If the remainder is 0, then you can see that you can say that this number is divisible by 7. Okay, so you can see that, okay, this number is divisible by 7. Yes. Okay, so this is how the modulo operator is used. There's a lot of other arithmetic you can do, but many people understand what you call the easier multiplication, division, and everything. But modulo is something that's a little complex, and they are not aware, to a little extent, right? Okay. So I hope arithmetic is clear till now. And then what we do, commenting is really simple. So for example, if I want to tell, let's just say if I want to do a comment, I can just say use a hash symbol. When I do a hash, whatever I write after that, it does not get printed, right? So if I just say hash, I put it before this particular line of code, it is not going to print that. Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to run this, and you can see that nothing got printed. Okay, because we have commented it. It's like it is there, but we said, do not do this operation, right? So that is where we use this hash to sometimes, have a set of lines to not run, or other way is you also help other people. Like for example, I write it now, and later, let's just say Vijay sir or Yogesh sir, anybody wants to read my code, and I say what I have done here. So I can just say comment and say, I have used modulo operator here. Okay. So anyway, because this is not going to run, it is actually helpful in making your code readable by other programmers or your fellow programmers or anybody who's using it later, right? So that is, I think, super easy. So commenting is something helpful, right? So I hope many people have understood commenting. Right. So now what we are going to do is we'll understood a little about variables. Now we'll understand how to update variables. Okay. So I will learn by exercise. I'm going to give this. Okay. So I'm going to put it here. So let's just say we have a pond, and in that we have 50 fish. Okay. Now what happened? People started catching fish. Okay. Now, okay, they started catching fish. And after that, what happened? Number of fish caught was 10. Okay. Now, when the number of fish caught was 10, we want to update the current fish in the pond. So how many fish remain in the pond? There were 50, 10 were caught. So how many remain? 40, right? So how do we update the fish in the pond variable, right? So that is updating variable. So now what we do is we say fish in the pond is actual what is the current fish in the pond minus number of fish caught, right? So this is where we are updating the actual fish in the pond variable. Okay, so I'm going to run it. Oh, sorry, not printed. Sorry, I'm going to say print fish in the pond. Okay, so now you see that you have updated the variable which was 50. Now it got 40. So now what to make it easier? So I'm going to say I'll print it before catching the fish. Then we started catching the fish. Then we updated the variable and then we reprinted it. Okay, I'm going to run it. So earlier it was 50 and we started catching fish, and then now it is 40, right? So that is how we update the variables. Okay. Now this particular statement that you could see here, this line, this is something that we do very often, right? So how often we keep updating the variables. For example, earlier the price of item in a menu in a restaurant was something, and it got updated, it got added 5% or something. So you keep on updating such variables. So what was the stock earlier in a grocery store of let's just say shampoos? Now the updated shampoos is so and so, right? So we use it so often so that we have a shorthand notation for it. So what do we do here is we say fish in pond minus equal to. So equal to. So what this means is, first let me write it up here. So what this statement does is fish in pond is equal to fish in pond minus number of fish caught. So it is the same statement. So what I'm going to do, this is a shorthand for the same statement. So you can write it both ways, but because we use such a statement very often, we have a shorthand for it. Okay, so I'm going to run it again. Let's see if there's any error here. Now you can see that the this also ran without any errors. So for example, if what I do here, I say plus equal to now number of fish caught. Now 50 plus 10 will be added. Now the fishing pond will be 60, right? So I think this particular shorthand notation is clear to everyone. Let me run this. Now you can see that fishing pond equal to fishing pond plus number of fish caught. So this statement is equivalent to this particular statement, right? So how many of you understood this shorthand, right? Type S in the chat box. Yes, thank you so much, Vijay sir. Thank you, Rohit. So that's how we update our variables. And let's just say we want to have a small exercise. We are going to do a small exercise here using the updating only, right? So the exercise goes like this. Okay. So now let's just say this is a question in a very small interview. Okay, the basics. So now January to June rainfall is, this is January rainfall, Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June. Okay. So they have added everything. So January to June rainfall was this. Okay. So this, the annual rainfall is January to June rainfall. Then 1 month passed. The July rainfall was 1.05. Right. So what is the annual rainfall? Okay. So what do we do here? We say annual rainfall equal to annual rainfall plus July rainfall, right? So that is how now let's print annual rainfall in July. Okay, so if I'm going to run this, you can see that this is the annual rainfall. Now, if I want to run the annual rainfall here from Jan to June, I'm going to run it. So earlier it was 17.77. After July, it is 1.05 added, right? So now if you want to do it shorthand, what do? We say plus equal to July rainfall, right? So if I run it, the output would still be same, right? So in the same way, they have given us August rainfall. Now annual rainfall equal to August rainfall. So we have added August rainfall to annual rainfall. Then they have given September rainfall, October rainfall, November, December, right? So you can do the same steps here to accomplish the annual rainfall. So how do? You only do it for one step, and I would leave the rest of it to you. Okay, annual rainfall plus equal to September rainfall, right? And similarly, you are going to do the same thing for October rainfall. You're going to add 1 month passes, October. Then after November rainfall, you can re-add it if you are doing it month by month. And I definitely understand you can just go ahead and sum all of it, but here the intent is to understand this shorthand because we're going to use it very often. Okay, so November rainfall, and finally annual rainfall plus equal to December rainfall, and we are going to print annual rainfall again, right? So if I run it, you can see that is the total rainfall, right? So I think that strengthens the concept. So how many of you understood this shorthand notation strongly? Type S in the chat box. Yes, thank you so much, Rohit. So now what we are going to do now is now we are going to understand a little about numbers and the data types. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now here, if you see these numbers, earlier what we have done is these are all numbers. Now you can see that there is a decimal point here. Okay, there's a decimal here. So whenever there's a decimal, we call it this is float number. So we call a number with a decimal as a float, right? So, and if we do not have a decimal, it is called an integer, right? So it's like number scale, right? Just rounded to one particular number, right? No decimal means this is a integer. Okay. So basically this is one particular data type. It could be negative, positive, zero, right? The integers could be that. And float is whenever there's a decimal, right? Even in float, you can see that, okay, let me show you this. So if we have a float, let's just say, even if you write 10 point, you don't write 0 also. If I'm going to print this float, let's just check if it is going to print 10.0 or 10. Because, yeah, so you see that this has become a float. So whenever you add a decimal point, it becomes a float, right? Okay, Vijay sir, so I hope my screen, this, can you see this screen, my notes screen also? So Vijay sir asks, can you show the library from where you are sharing? So I'll be sharing this, the link for the blog also with you. So where, from where you can have these notes as well.
Hello.
Yes, yeah, please.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, please. Yes, sir.
Yes, Saji sir. Actually, I'm not finding this introduction to Python.
Okay.
That your notes I'm not finding in the collab.
Teachable.
Yes.
On Teachable, you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically we'll be sharing these notes now, sir. Post the session, we'll be sharing it. It will
Okay.
be on Teachable, right?
Okay. Okay.
If you are watching the recording,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find it under the video itself. Okay, under AI hackathons, in that introduction to Python, you'll see this particular collab and the notes, right?
Oh, okay.
Yes, great. So thank you so much, Vijay sir. Now that we have understood integer and float data type, so we'll just do a very quick small exercise here. We learn a lot about data types going forward, right? So now what we have done here is cucumbers, let's just say in a grocery store, are 10 and price per cucumber is 3.25. Okay. So now the price is what is a float. Okay, sorry. Now the total cost is equal to the number of cucumbers into price per cucumber, right? So now what would be the data type of the final total cost? Yeah, you can type it in the chat box. So what would be the data type of the final total cost? It will be a float, right? Thanks, Rohit. So that is how you did a little, thank you, Spandana, right? So a little, integer multiplied by a float becomes a float, right? So this is about numbers, and there are different various other things, but these are most prominently used ones, right? So you have understood a little about numbers. Other operators are easy. So what we are going to do is we are going to directly learn by exercise. Okay, so I'm just going to say now in this particular exercise, the cucumbers are 100 and there are 6 people. So now what we are doing here is whole cucumbers per person is how many? So we are dividing it by people, right? So 100 by 6. Now I'm going to print cucumber. So now you can see that here we are just using division. Okay, so division. So that is what we want to do with this particular exercise. So you can see that this particular statement prints, it divides and prints it, right? So it is like a simple arithmetic that you can do. Now, because here both were integers, that is there. Even if you want to print it, let's just say here it got printed float. Earlier, it used to just print integer. Like if you want to convert this number into an integer, you can use int. So let me just try this. Okay, I'm just going to say I'm just going to print it here. Okay, so basically what happens now whenever you divide a particular number with a float also, it become the output will always be a float, right? So now there are two different conventions. There is Python 2 and Python 3. So earlier in Python 2, what used to happen is when you divide by integers, the output would have been integer. Now it is the whole and the same, right? So whenever you do a division, it's going to be a float only, right? If there are going to be decimals, it's going to give output of decimals, right? So this is division. Okay. So now, once we understand division, so we'll just try to understand multi-line strings. Multi-line strings are nothing but if at all you want to comment uh, multiple lines, so you can use triple quotes. Okay, so this is not actually a code related thing. It's like a good thing to know. Now, for example, now what I'm doing here is I'm creating a variable which is called address string. Okay, so now I'm going to print address string. Okay, so first let us run it and then try to understand it. Yeah. So now what happens is if you just put a quote here and towards the end, if I'm going to run it, so it will give you a error, right? So why? Because what you wanted is you wanted the address to be the plot number, the apartment number, and the pin code along with the city. But this string will not allow you to do it, a normal string. So there, what you do is multi-line string means you can give triple quotes and make this 3 lines as a 3 or more lines, right? So let's just say apartment 7 and near St. Michael School. Sorry, my spelling. And still run it as a multi-line string. Okay, so I can even comment and say this is called a multi-line string. Okay, so triple quotes is for multi-line strings. So if you understood multi-line strings, type triple quotes in the chat box. Okay, so that's about multi-line strings. Okay, so now to understand booleans, this is also part of these strings. So what I'm going to do here is go forward and say, okay, I'm just going to first add the exercise. Now, let's just say the statement here given is, hi, I am Maria and I live in script.p. This is the script. I am an expert Python coder. I'm 21 years old and I plan to program cool stuff forever. Right? So now let's just, the question here is the age 12? Right? No, right? It is false. So what you do is when you write a statement, like when make it write false, so this is called boolean. So now if it is false, you write it false. In the first letter is capital, the rest of it is small. So these particular true and false statements are called the boolean, right? So it is a binary thing. So now if I print age is 12, it is going to say, so print this one. It's going to say it's false. Okay, so that's about booleans. So if you've understood, we'll use booleans also going forward. Whenever if it is true, we'll mark some statement as true. If it is false, we'll mark it as false, right? Automatically. So how many of you understood booleans? Type B in the chat box. Thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Vandana. Okay, so basically that's about booleans, and many people also do it the other way around. So what they do is they write 0 for false and 1 for true, right? So people can even understand if it's a 0, it's going to be false, right? So people use it differently, but true and false are the actual booleans, right? Now, for example, if you want to understand a few other errors that happen is, let's try to print this. Okay. Because you're talking about data types and numbers, when you use numbers, when you mix two types of numbers, it is not going to run. Okay, so let us see. Now, what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to run this. Let's just say print. The age we have defined as 13, which is an integer, right? And okay, sorry, I'm writing it in text. Code. Now, age is 13, which is an integer. Now, what we are doing here is we are trying to print a string I am plus age and plus years old, right? Okay, so sometimes this runs like, what happens here is it runs, but the error comes. So the error here is can only concatenate string, not int to string, right? So what happened here is there is a mismatch of the data type. So the first age is an integer and you're trying to concatenate it with a string. So this is a value error, right? So because the value is different. So how do you fix it? You do something called typecast. So you can change the data type. So how do you do in Excel? You can say format and change this number, convert number to text or text to number, right? Something similar is happening here. We say this age, convert it into a string. Now, if I run it now, you can see that the age got converted into a string and it says I'm 13 years old. Okay. So this is how this works. So how many of you understood how you can use two different data types together? So you have to do something called typecast, right? So if you've understood this, type U in the chat box. Yes, thank you so much, Vijay sir. Okay, so we'll also be sharing the notes. You can even convert floats to integers, integers to float, right? So let's try to do this one also. Okay. Now what we have done there is, though this is a number, we have put it in double quotes. So what this is going to be, if you put it within double quotes, it becomes a string, right? So this is a number saved as a string. Now to make it integer, so this is how you normally do it. So you put it this way and you write int before that and it becomes a integer. Okay, let's just check. Okay. Yeah, so I think this is something we thought about the Python 2.2 and Python 3, this thing. So if you run it in the latest, the previous ones, you can convert them directly to integers, right? So let me just try to do this. A equal to, I'm creating a variable. Yeah, so basically you get the idea, right? So you can convert strings also into integers with the int this thing. So let me first try to have a string. I'm just testing along with you. Make notes after we have done it. Yeah, so okay. So now what we have done here is it was earlier float. So let's just say this was integer. Okay, so what happens is the errors tell you, what the error was. Now you can convert a integer saved as a string to an integer, because we were not able to do it because it was 0.5 and we could convert it into a float, not an integer, right? So that is how this typecasting works. Here you converted a number into a string and here you converted a string into a number, right? So I hope people have understood. If you have understood till here, type U in the chat box. Okay, thanks Prashant. Thanks Man. Thanks Kuju. That's great. Okay, so this is about various the basics, super basics of Python, which is the Python syntax. Now what we'll try to do next is understand little in detail about strings. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible. If my screen is visible, type V in the chat box. Okay, so I think my screen is visible to you, but I am not able to see your chat. So let me reshare. Okay, great. Now I'm able to see your chat as well. Okay, so now if you see strings, so now what happens is strings are stored in this format, right? So now if I say this string is Python, the first character is stored at index 0, right? And if you go forward, it will be +1, the next character will be +1, +2, +3. So now these numbers are called index, right? It is sitting in that particular address. So now if you want to see what is the fourth letter of the string Python, then you have to check what is stored at the index 3, right? Because it starts from 0. The address starts from 0, not 1. Okay, so we'll try to understand the same example here. Okay, I'm just going to say first strings, then say, let's just say letter equal to Python. And what I'm trying to do here is you're going to access that particular letter by adding the index here. So it is string, and then there is a square bracket, then the index you want to give. So if I want to print letter, it will give me the index of that particular letter. Sorry, that particular letter itself. So this is the index. So if I want the fourth letter, what I have to do, 0, 1, 2, 3. So I have to type 3. So then the fourth letter would be 3. Okay. So that's how this works. So how many of you understood how do we access within strings? Right? Type A in the chat box. So how many of you are running this for the first time? Type me in the chat box. Yeah. So Vijay sir, would you want to unmute and share your experience? How was it? The result? Can you share your result before and after? So
Hello.
yes, Vijay sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, similar kind of coding I have done in MATLAB. MATLAB I have done earlier, but Python is new to me.
Understood.
So this interface and your notes actually I don't have right now, but after the session I will practice it.
Understood. That is really great, sir. So may I know which city you are from, sir, and what is your background?
Sorry?
Which city you are from and what is your background?
Hello.
Hello, am I
Yes.
audible? Yeah.
Yes.
So, may I know which city you are from?
I'm here in Nalanda, Bihar.
Wow, I've been to Nalanda. It's a very beautiful
Yes.
place.
Yes.
Yes. So, what is your background, sir? What do you do?
I'm head of the department here in mechanical engineering.
It's amazing.
In a private
Right.
university.
That's really great, sir. So how long you have practiced these things in MATLAB? Like when was that?
Actually, my PhD was completed in the year of 2016. So my work was on computational mechanics. So I used MATLAB that time, and from 2016 I have been in touch with the MATLAB and these SolidWorks, these softwares I have used.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
Python is new to me, and I have enrolled in the AI, artificial intelligence.
Correct, correct. The basics will definitely help, sir. Yes.
I'm very much
Thank you so much.
interested to incorporate these tools to my area of specialization.
Correct, correct. Understood, understood. But that is really nice, sir. You already have done PhDs, and you're already head of the department for a different background, mechanical background, and you're still having that learning mindset and still willing to learn new things. I really appreciate that. So that is really inspiring to many of our other members as well. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Great. So we'll continue. Yeah. So thank you so much, Vijay sir. And I'm going to type more part to you. So this is something we do. So I would request everyone to type MPTY, which means more power to you. Right?
Please, can you please show me once again that how can we start following your notes?
Yes, yes, sir. I'll be sharing that on Teachable, sir. You'll receive a mail also regarding that. We can, take it up from there.
How did you start practicing this?
Yes, yes, sir. The recording also will be available.
Okay, thank
yes, thanks. Yes. So, Lord Spandana says more to, more power to you, sir. Vinita says more power to you, Shankar. Thank you so much. Right? Really inspirational. So let's continue. So what we have done till now is we have understood how to access strings. So there is other way to do this. So what another thing what you can do here is you can have the string saved in a variable. I just say, okay, I cannot use string because it's just a string one. The string is already a word. I'm just saying to say string is Python. Okay. Now, what I instead of Python, I say string. Let's just say let's write it str. So the string let's keep it string one. Okay, the string one is Python. Now I am just going to say string one of 3. Now even if I print, it's going to give me the same output, right? Instead of directly using the string with the double quotes, I'm going to save it in a variable and use it, right? So this is what we do to access any particular letter of a string. So this accessing by index, we'll do it often, right? We'll also be seeing this in lists and all. So this is something very useful, right? So there are a few methods or functions of strings that we use. Okay, so we'll also learn this by exercise. I'm going to use it here. Now, if you see, now there are 2 particular methods of string. So now that the word is exhibition. Okay, now the length is a variable. Okay, what we have done, we have used the inbuilt method called len, len, and then within parentheses we have given the string, the variable. Now what len will have is, will have the length of that particular word, right? So now you can see that if the exhibition, it says 10, if I say Pixeltests, the length will still be 10 because it's there, right? So if I'm going to say Sachi, it's going to be 5, right? So length is a method that is useful for operating with strings, right? So this is one of the method that we use, and the another string function method that becomes helpful, comes handy, is the lower and upper, right? So how do we operate on those is in this particular fashion. So here, if you see these 2 particular, length or string, these actually work. Str we have seen here, right? So let me just go up and see. Now you have seen str method. What it has done, it has converted an integer to a string. So that we have seen. Now, if at all we want to see this other two functions, other two methods, we are going to use them, the upper and lower. So how do we use these functions is, we say, let's just say capitals, okay, just, and I'm saying word dot upper. Okay, so I'm just going to say use it this way. I'm just going to run it. So I'm also curious to see what's going to happen. Okay. Okay. So now you can see that. So we tried using this notation, the upper. So let me just try putting double quote in the parentheses here. Okay. So now what happened here is these lower and upper functions use something called the dot notation, right? So if at all you want to, convert it into an uppercase or lowercase, this is how you use it, right? For example, if I have a word, the B is capital and the T is capital. If I use lower and I run it, it is going to give me lowercase. So you can, it is interesting to note that the length and string functions are something that will be used in this particular fashion. Length, and within the parentheses, you pass the string, but the upper and lower, you can see that there we use the dot notation, right? So these are a few methods that we use in this strings. Okay, so how many of you understood these string methods? Type U in the chat box. Thank you so much, Vijay sir. Thank you, Prashant. Yes, we have people joining us on our social channels. Thank you, Vinita. Great. Okay, so let's resume. Yeah. Now we have understood the string formatting also, like, a few methods. Now what we're trying to do here is, there's a better way to also operate with strings, and let me show it with an example, right? So now if you see here, we have created two strings, which is first one is the red light, the next one is green light. Okay, that's right, green. Now what we are doing here in the print statement is, we are saying stop when it is so when we write this %s, right? So what we are saying is, after this the percentage operator, whatever is there in the first parenthesis, it will come here. Okay, go when it is the %s, it will take from this particular string. So to understand it better, first I'll run it, so you'll have a output to visualize. So now what happened here is, stop when it is a red light, right? So we have not written it red light here. Okay, so what happened? Used this formatting method, which is the %s. We also can use this for decimals or integers by using %d and all this. We'll see that also going forward. But this is a way to actually print one or more strings, and there are a lot of variables within that particular string. So alternatively, you can use this particular print statement where you write less that particular string or variable, convert it and all. But the best way here is, you can do the formatting by this particular notation also, right? So what this does is, first it will come here in this bracket and it say the first string is string 1, the second string is string 2. Okay, so it will start running printing from here, stop when it is a %s. So it will just go to this parentheses and pick up the first string 1 and replace it here. This %s is a placeholder only, right? It is going to pick up whatever is there in the first string, right? Then it will start printing go when it is a %s. It will pick up the second string and print it as well, right? So this, while we use it in exercises, it becomes even more clear. But so how many of you understood how do we format strings, right? So you can use the percentage operator to actually go ahead and use it with this particular fashion. If you understood this, type U in the chat box. Thank you, Vinita ma'am. Great. Okay, so in the same way, let's just say we are just going to do a small example here. We have three strings. One is name, the second one is quest, the third one is color. Okay, now we are going to say print. So your name is here. We are going to use percentages. Your quest is, so we have written name, quest, and color here. The quest here also the placeholder. We are using percentage. Okay, S, and your favorite color is percentage S. Now, what we do here, we also need to have a percentage, right? So it will take whatever is there after whatever there is there in this particular parenthesis, it will take from here. Okay. Thank you, Vinita. Let me share my screen. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, let me undo my edits. Okay. I hope my screen is visible now. Okay. So now in this particular exercise, we have three variables, which is name, quest, and color. So both of three of them are strings. Now, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to use this placeholder percentage S and make a statement of it. Okay. So how are we doing it? So the statement is so your name is what comes in this parenthesis is percentage S. Your quest is, so it is going to take the second percentage S from here, and your favorite color is the third one, the placeholder percentages. And we are going to use here also you should have a percentage operator. Then only this particular statement will get printed. Okay. So now you can see the percentage S replaced whatever was there in these three particular strings. Okay. So I hope string formatting is clear right now. Right. Type U if you understood this clearly. Thanks, Roshni. Thanks, Raja. Okay, so people who are watching us on YouTube, you can put your comments in the comment section. Great. Okay, so now we've understood a little more in detail about strings. Let's go forward and try to understand this date, time, and a few operators of date and time. Right? So, which is where you might be aware of a few libraries because MATLAB uses a lot of libraries. So similarly, we have something called, datetime library here in Python. So we'll understand in detail about libraries going forward, but here we are going to understand a different type of string, which is the datetime. Right? So now how do we operate with libraries is, now these variables and these functions and methods, we are writing customized. So we are writing it ourselves. But Python already has a few set of libraries which has already a prefixed logic behind it. So now to import that particular logic and variables, we use this libraries. So what we are doing here is from datetime import datetime, right? So meaning from this particular library import the method datetime. So from you can once you hover here also on Colab, it says from the module datetime import the datetime methods or functions, right? So now what we are doing here is we are creating a variable which is called now, and we are like the way we used upper and lower with the dot notation, we are going to use dot now to get that particular variable. Now, for example, when you say date time dot now, whatever is the current date and time, it is going to print that, right? So what this is going to do is going to print the current date and time. Okay? Let me show you. So you can see that if I run it again, the seconds will keep changing, right? So you see that it was 11 earlier, now it is 18. If I rerun it, this, it is updating, right? So why this is because the dot now operator for the date time value, what this does is this particular thing is going to pick the current date and time and save it in the variable now, and we're going to print that. So how many of you understood this particular date time properly? Type you in the chat. Yes, thank you so much, Vijay. So let me share my screen again. So now what we do is we can even format that in a better way to extract the information that we want. For example, I'm going to show this by exercise. I'm going to run this. We are importing date time from date time module, and we are creating a variable called now and saving the current date and time. Right. So now we have created 3 new variables, which is current year, current month, and current date. Okay. So now has today's date. If we say dot year, so it will just pick the year portion and save it as current year. If we say month, it will just pick the month portion and put it there. Day will put the day portion there. Okay. So I'm going to print now dot year, or you can just say print current year. Okay. And current month, and similarly current day. Okay. So you can extract, because you cannot use this particular format every time when you're operating, right? So you want to use whatever information that you want. So if I am going to print this, it is going to print the current, current year. Here we have current month. Here we have current day. Great. So how many of you understood that how can we extract information out of date and time? Right, using the sample. Thank you, Prashant. Great. So this is how we extract information of date and time. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible right now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the custom format like we have used for strings. We're going to use it for numbers here. Right? So I'm going to create a new code block. Now we have got the date and current date and time in the variable now. Okay. And we are going to print it here, right? So how are we doing it is, instead of here, how we use the placeholder %s, we are going to use %d. Okay. So what %s and %d do is, so when I say %0 to d, it is going to give me 2 digits. It is going to give a padding. So let me first print it and I explain it to you. So what this particular print statement did it, first it went and looked at %d. Right? So if I remove the 0 2, it is not going to have this particular 0 before, right? I'm just going to run it. So now if you see, instead of %s, if you have %d, it will print that particular integer, right? So this also comes handy if at all you are trying to print something, and these variables keep changing. Like for example, tomorrow, the date will change. So then you can use the same print statement to get tomorrow's date and time, right? So that is how this works. And this 02 means if it is a single digit, add a 0 beforehand, right? It is called padding, and you added 2 digits of padding to this, right? So even for this, you are going to say percentage, 02, you add 02, and if you add 04, because year is 4-digit number, so if it is anything less than 4 digits, it's going to add a 04, a padding of zeros beforehand, right? It's not essential here, but just also to make you clear about this particular formatting method for numbers, right? So this is how you format numbers. And now we have used date and time to extract and understand the formatting of this particular type of thing. So now what you can do is similarly also have hours and seconds also, right? So if at all, I'm going to print now.hour, now.minute, or now.second, is going to give me current stats, right? So year, month, day, hour, minute, second, right? So now you can see that this is what is running. Okay. So now if at all I rerun it, the seconds get updated because it is the now. Okay, great. So how many of you understood how do we format and extract information out of integers and date formats? Type U in the chat box. Thanks, Roshni. Thanks, Jeet. That's great. Okay, so this is how we extract information from the date and time. Okay, so if at all we go and want to use a few more operators also, you can understand these particular operators. We'll be using more of these as we proceed forward, right? So I hope you're able to see my screen. Good. So let us learn on these. We'll use them in the further exercises. For example, if we want to check, give in conditions, we want to say is left hand side equal to right hand side, we will be using double equal to. If we want to check if it is not equal to, then we use an exclamation mark with the equal to sign, right? So this is a notation for not equal to. Less than remains the same way. Less than or equal to is like this. Greater than or equal to. And as we have said, the double equal to is used in comparisons, and equal to is used for assignment. So like example, if we use single equal to, it is called assignment. You are assigning this particular string to this variable. And in conditions, if you use double equal to, it is going to check if the answer is left or not, right? So this is the difference that we have to keep in mind, right? So now Boolean operators, the other operators are like and. You can directly use and. So what happens with and operators is if it is true, it will give an output. So let me just try to run this. If I'm going to run, say 1 is less than 2 and 2 is greater than 3. So now this is true and this is false, right? So if I try to run it, it will give a false. So for AND operator, both of these have to be true, right? So if I say 2 is less than 3 and I run it, now it will give the output as true, right? So if it is an OR operator, even one of them is false, the answer would be true, right? So basically, true or false is always true. True and true is true. True and false is false, right? So this is how the operators work, right? So when you use the not operator, if you say not true, it becomes false, like something similar to not equal to, right? So when you say not false, it becomes not false becomes true, and not true becomes false, right? So the not is evaluated first. For example, if I'm trying to evaluate this here, true or not false and true. So first, the not evaluates, right? So not false becomes true, then and evaluates. True and false. The true and false is false. The true or false is true, right? Let's just say. So this is how it works. So how many of you understood how these operators, like simple operators, but how the combination of these works, right? So type, if you understood this, type U in the chat box. Yes. Thank you so much, Sujit. Thanks, Rashni. Thanks, Raja. Thanks, Sham. Okay, great. So this is how these operators function. And if at all, you want to do a little more practice of the same, and go ahead and, understand, try running them on console and register it strongly. Okay, so let us come back. Now we've understood the operators also well. Now we'll understand a little about conditionals for today, and then we'll conclude for today's session. Okay, so let's go for conditionals. So how many of you are clear till now? Type C in the chat box. Thanks, Sujit. So I hope many of you are clear. So many C's are coming in. How many of you are not clear till now? If anybody has any query, type, if you're not clear, type N in the chat box. Okay, so I see there are no one who's not clear. That's good. But if at all you feel that some concept is not clear to you, I urge you to go ahead and watch the session again, rewind it, and understand it, then proceed forward. So this will help you have a stronger understanding going forward. Amazing. Okay. So now what we are doing right now is understanding a little about conditionals. Okay. So what do we do here is, we are going to do a small exercise. I am going to okay. So this is conditionals. And here we have pasted up the exercise, right? So we have created a variable. The variable is called toss. Okay. And we have given it a value strings, which is heads. Okay. Yeah, Vijay sir, you can definitely practice on your own. And if at all you are on system, I request you to next time or even now parallelly run the programs while you're doing it, so it becomes a little more clear. Okay, so I'll also be sharing the notes of the session, the link to it, so that you can do it by your own. Amazing. So now what we have done is we have created this variable called toss, and we have given it a string value heads, right? So now conditional is a statement where it is going to check if it is true or false, And if it is true, it is going to do a set of statements. Which is going to run the block of statements. If it is not, it is going to run the other rest of the statements. So how do we do this? If toss is heads, so this double equal to is going to compare, right? So remember, single equal to is assignment, double equals to is a check, right? So we are going to check here if toss is heads. Then if it is true, there is something called indentation. So you have to give a space to tell Python that the compiler that these block of statements are under this particular if statement. Okay, so this is called indentation. So I'm just going to write indentation. Okay, so let's just say if you do not indent it, I'm just going to write it here. If you're not going to indent it, you're going to run into an error. So we are just going to say, we're just going to give a space and I'm going to run it. So you can see because the head toss is heads, India is going to bat, right? So if we say the toss is tails or anything apart from heads, this Australia is batting. So this is where we have given a little thinking ability to Python, right? A few lines of statement have now made us run this particular program, and if based upon a conditional check, it is going to say if it is India's batting or Australia's batting. Right? So Vijay said you'll receive it over email. You'll receive it over email and you can find it in the Teachable also. Immediately after the session. Okay, so now what are we trying to do here is learn a little more about conditionals. So one important thing that people need to remember is this semicolon, right? So if we do not have this semicolon, Python will not know the condition ended, right? So if I run this is another common error. You can see that it has not understood if that is the right syntax. So you have to say after the condition check is done, you have to have a semicolon. Then only it will know that, okay, this still here, it is condition. And if it is true, then I am going to run this block of statements. Else I'm going to run the other block of statements. So this particular conditional statement is called if else, right? So let's just say we want to take another example. We want to have a example. Let's say here. Now the question here is, if the score is 90 or higher, the statement should assign an A. If it is between 65 and 95, the program should assign a B. If it is anything less than 65, it should give an F, right? So we are now trying to give the thinking ability to this by writing it. So first we are going to say, we are going to create a variable called score, right? And let's just say score can be anything. Let's just the score is 80. Okay. Let's just first let's give the score is 97. Okay. And we are going to write an if statement. If score equal to let's just say is greater than or equal to 90, and I'm going to say give the semicolon and say condition is this. Then I'm going to say enter, and I've indented it, given a space, and say print grade is A. Okay, so if I'm running this, first what it will do, it will check if the score is greater than or equal to 90. Then it is printed, right? So let's just say if the score is less than 90, what it is going to do, it is not going to run because we have not given any other statement, right? So now what we are going to do here is we are going to write another statement, which is something similar, else if. Okay, so this is the wrong notation. I'm just giving you an example. Else if there's a shorthand for it, we say elif score is greater than or equal to 69, and we are using the Boolean operator and the score is less than equal to 89. So if it is greater than or equal to 65 and less than or equal to 89, then print grade is B. Okay, so we put it in double quotes. And if I'm trying to run this, because the score is 85 now, it has to print the grade is B, right? And now else if is used when there is another condition. There is first condition, then there is second condition. And if all of the statements are false, if those are not being validated as true, then else we are just going to, without condition, write print grade is F. Okay, so if the score is anything less than 65, it is going to print the grade is F. Right? So this is how you have given the ability to think in a very smaller way to the program, and it is able to grade now. For example, if I say the score is 64 and I'm trying to run it, it is still an F. And if I'm going to say the score is 79 and it is going to tell me the grade is B, right? So this is how we have successfully understood from Python syntax till conditionals. So how many of you have taken value of this session and understood the basics of Python, right? So this is the first hackathon. I would request you to go through Rajiv sir's session also, where you'll understand a little more in detail. But we'll be doing such hackathons, every Wednesday on the same time. You'll get the reminders for the same over email, right? In the same way how you have got today, right? So I would request you to join the hackathons to do these things live along with us. Okay, so thank you so much for joining in, and if at all there is any query or if there's anything, you can go ahead and ask us, or you can share your experience, like how was this roughly 90-minute session for you? What was the result of the understanding? Thank you so much, Vijay sir, as well, right? That's great. Right, so the recording is available and we'll also be posting this on Teachable as well. Great. So see you in the next hackathon. Thank you so much, and do practice on your own. Also go ahead and watch Rajiv sir's lectures, and this is how this is going to work. You watch Rajiv sir lectures, and in the hackathons we are going to revise the same. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and see you in the next hackathon. Yes, Prashant. So what you can do is, so if at all you want to give your experience, so I'm going to share with you the Trustpilot link. So if at all you want to share your experience, you can go ahead and write the top 3 learnings that you had or the experience that you had and put it on Trustpilot here, right? So I request everyone here on Zoom and on YouTube to go ahead to Trustpilot of Pixeltests and summarize top 3 learnings. People who are watching this on YouTube, I request you to go ahead and put it in the comments, your experience in the comments. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Jay. Yes, you'll receive the details. Great. The pleasure. Thank you.